myself in the stream. There we are. Okay. I had a wonderful introduction and then I forgot I had to add myself in the stream. Just no, there's no gradual fade in. We're just popping right in. It is, I think everybody can agree it's been one of the weeks of all time. It has been one of the weeks of all time. For example, I forgot to share the freaking links. So apologies about that. While I fidget around and try to share the links. Oh, I'm echoing. I don't like hearing my own voice. How's everybody doing tonight? How's everybody doing? Earlier this week in A Drink with Crazies Gilded, one of the users, Trippy Soul, dubbed that we're all having shared cosmic chaos. And that's the best way to put it all. We are having shared cosmic chaos today. Today, this week, in fact. All right. There we are. No, that's a lot better. All right, I shared the link. All right, so what we're going to do this week, it's another preservation shout out. Now, what we've been doing when we title this before is I pick free historic sites or fundraising efforts, and we go through, explain what they're all about. This week's going to be a little bit different. We're actually going to start off with a news subject. We will be talking about 3 different history projects. One of them, sadly, is closing, and I have fond memories of it. I want to share it. Then the other 2 are projects that you can support. So it's going to start out with a downer, and then we'll work our way through. All right. Without any further ado, and hail Wrangler, welcome to tonight's show. Without any further ado, let's go to not the best source I could find. It was last minute. So you probably all know that Sunday there was a submersible that went down to the wreck of the RMS Titanic, and about an hour and a half into its 2-hour descent, it lost contact. There were 5 individuals on board. People were hoping that it had lost power and landed on the ocean floor, and that all they had to do was go down and rescue. Those people were foolhardy. I had a gut feeling the moment I saw this headline Sunday evening that it wasn't going to end well. And today, Thursday, the search officially ended with the discovery of debris not far from the Titanic shipwreck that was, at least some sources saying, are identified as that submersible. So we're going to talk a little bit about it. Reuters published this just a few hours ago. Deep sea submersible carrying 5 people on a voyage to the century-old wreck was found in pieces from a catastrophic implosion that killed everyone on board, U.S. Coast Guard said on Thursday, and in a multinational 5-day search for the vessel. A robotic diving vehicle deployed from a Canadian ship discovered a debris field from the submersible Titan on Thursday morning on the seabed, some 1,600 feet from the bow of the Titanic, 2.5 miles beneath the surface, in a remote corner of the North Atlantic. U.S. Coast Guard Rear Admiral John Mauger told reporters. The Titan, operated by the U.S.-based company OceanGate Expeditions, had been missing since it lost contact. Okay, I've already seen it. Yep, on the surface. 45 minutes. 5 major fragments of the 22-foot Titan were located in the debris field left from the disintegration, including the vessel's tail cone and 2 sections of the pressure hull, Coast Guard officials said. No mention was made whether human remains were sighted. The debris field here is consistent with a catastrophic implosion of the vehicle, Mauger said. Even before the Coast Guard's press conference, OceanGate issued statements saying there were no survivors from the 5 men aboard the Titan, including the company's founder and chief executive officer, Stockton Rush, who was piloting the Titan. The 4 others were British billionaire and explorer Hamish Harding, 58, Pakistani-born businessman Shahrazan Dawood, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that, and his 19-year-old son, Salman, both British citizens, and French oceanographer and renowned Titan expert Paul-Henri Nargeolet, 77. Again, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that. He had visited the site a dozen times. These men were true explorers who shared a distinct spirit of adventure and a deep passion for exploring and protecting the world's oceans, the company said. Our hearts are with these 5 souls and every member of their families during this tragic time. Rescue teams from several countries had spent days scanning thousands of square miles of open seas with planes and ships for any sign of the Titan. Intense worldwide media coverage of the search largely overshadowed the aftermath of a far greater maritime disaster stemming from the wreck of a migrant vessel off the coast of Greece last week, killing hundreds on board. Now, this would go in and talk about, I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday, they were reporting hearing sounds from the ocean. They were hoping it was banging on the hull of the Titan, and there's a photograph there of the submersible. The Titan's been used since 2021, or if not the Titan, OceanGate itself have been since 2021 doing these quote-unquote tourist excursions down to the Titanic. For the fee of $250,000, you'd be able to take a journey on the Titan down to the wreck of the Titanic. The fee, again, $250,000. Let's see if there's any more images. Press conference photos, Coast Guard, ROV being used. It seems what likely happened, and I'm no expert on these submersibles, but considering that we have a debris field in pieces, it wasn't that it lost control on descent, but it was rather there was some malfunction with the pressure hull, and even the most minor leak would cause the whole thing to catastrophically implode. If there's anything you can take away from this, is that their end was very quick. If it is a implosion, as it seems the debris field is supporting. Robotic craft on the ocean floor will continue to gather evidence, Mauger said, but it was not clear whether recovering the victims' remains will be possible given the nature of the accident and the extreme conditions at those depths. It's not going to be, folks. The search had grown increasingly desperate on Thursday when a submersible's estimated 96-hour air supply had been expected to run out if the Titan were still intact. Did you know the RMS Titanic was struck an iceberg and sank on its maiden voyage in 1912? The undersea expedition to the wreck with OceanGate has been opened since 2021, and as I mentioned, the price cost $250,000 a person. Questions about Titan's safety were raised in 2018 during a symposium of submersible industry experts and in a lawsuit by OceanGate's former head of marine operations, which was settled later that year. The sweeping search covered more than 10,000 square miles of ocean, about the size of the U.S. state of Massachusetts. On Thursday, the deployment of 2 specialized deep-sea ROVs expanded the search further into the ocean depths, where immense pressure and pitch-black darkness complicated the mission. And there's a map of the approximate location of Titanic wreck, and the remains of the Titan submersible now are a part of Titanic's debris field. Sorry if I'm a little robotic there in my reading. I gotta be honest, like I said, when I heard this Sunday, I kind of figured what the end result was going to be. I know everybody was trying to have hope. No, not when you're that far down. Not that it's not good. If you've ever read the tale of the USS Fresher or the USS Scorpion, you know when something disappears that far down, it's not going to be good. It's not going to be good. This is going to be interesting to see the effect that this has upon the future dives on the Titanic. It's been a controversy since the wreck was discovered in 1985 on who should be going down to the wreck. They did salvage operations in the late 1980s, and I think legally they're not allowed to take anything from the wreck anymore. But obviously, suspicion hasn't stopped individuals. There has been damage done to the wreck over the years by unauthorized tourist themed. I don't know how you want to word it. There's been damage done to the wreck since its discovery in 1985, and it's submersible damage. It's from people going down to the wreck, landing right on the wreck, and it's causing problems to it. And the ship, which was already rapidly deteriorated, that didn't help matters. So that's the story of the Titan. It was on all this week's news. Like I said, for a third time, I knew this was going to be the end result the moment I read it. So I apologize if I'm just being rather robotic in reading it. But I know a lot of people were discussing about it. I had a few people ask me this week what my opinion was. These are the facts. This is what we know what happened right now. Now let the investigations come. What do you want, Lily? My cat. This is the evil one. For those that don't know, we have 3 cats here. And one of them is the evil one. Now, if I lift her up and show her on camera, she's likely going to bite me. But if I don't stop petting her off screen, then she's going to bite me. I'm in a rock and a hard place, folks. We got 2 other cats. One is, we nicknamed her Wendy Weiner. And then the other, well, he he is the definition of curiosity killed the cat. It is a miracle. He always lands on his all fours. I will say that. All these heights he gets on, he always lands on his all fours. Does anybody by any chance watching have anything you want to further talk about? Any thoughts you guys have about the situation with the Titan? I'd be more than happy to the best of my abilities, talk about it. All right. We're going to move on, though. We're going to move on to another topic. Let's go back to sharing the screen. Yeah, let's do it like that. Or should I do it like this? Indecisive. We'll just keep it like that, actually. We'll just keep it like that. All right, moving on. We're going to Harper's Ferry, West Virginia, to talk about the John Brown Wax Museum. Yes, the John Brown Wax Museum. So, boy, did me and John Brown have quite the history. I've done multiple videos about this man. There's a construction paper battlefield episode about his raid on the Harper's Ferry Arsenal back in October of 1859. I've done a short video about the engine house that he and his raiders took as their headquarters during that raid, and the literal moving monument it is. It's literally moved multiple places in its history. Traveled all the way to Chicago at one point. So be sure to check that video out. And I've also talked about a few other things about Harper's Ferry. Now, this museum I have very fond memories of. I went to see as a child. It's one of them. It's from the days when history was taught in wax, when it seemed like most museums, like it was around the 1950s, became wax museums. You had, what was it, Madame Tussauds. I know there's like one in like Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. There were several of them around the country. Gettysburg had the American Civil War wax museum at one point, and Harper's Ferry had her own. And to read a little bit about it, the John Brown Wax Museum graphically tells the life story of militant abolitionist John Brown and his raid on Harper's Ferry, Virginia, now West Virginia, in 1859. Kiosks with voice, music, and animation enhanced the 87 life-size figure experience. Gotta love that old school animation there, the cube in the corner. The website's been, it's a little bit old, but it's been updated over years. It's an oldie but a goodie, this site is. Bonus audio before your tour. Building accessibility, location, which is not a mailing address, weddings. Guess you could have a wedding there, and make a friend online. So I think the John Brown Museum has been open for almost 50 years. I could be wrong on that. It's a few blocks up from the Point. And for those that aren't familiar with Harper's Ferry, let me go back. Harper's Ferry, Virginia, now West Virginia. It's this town located at the confluence of the Shenandoah and the Potomac River. And they meet down there, and the Potomac River carries on all the way down to Washington, D.C. from there. Property around there was speculated by George Washington, by Thomas Jefferson. Washington wanted to build a canal. He actually succeeded. He built an early version of what would become the C&O Canal on one side of the Shenandoah River. C&O Canal went through on the Potomac. What was important about Harper's Ferry in early American history? You maybe have heard of the Springfield Armory and Arsenal. It was one of 2 army and arsenals authorized for the United States government. There actually were 2. The other was in Harper's Ferry. And the hope was that the power of the Potomac and Shenandoah rivers could power the mills that would be built around the confluence. They also developed a variety of different revolutionary weapons in Harper's Ferry. Some of the early forms of rifles were experimented. Breech-loading rifles were created here. The drawback was they were hoping that if they put it in this, and it's a deep valley, you might as well call it a gorge where Harper's Ferry is. They hoped that if they put this second arsenal there, it'd be hard for anybody to get to it. Well, not once, but twice did people prove that it's actually a very easy place to assault. The first instance is when abolitionist John Brown and his provincial army, which was a mixture of white men and freedmen, they raided the arsenal. Their mission to gather all the supplies, all the weapons, then take them into Virginia and give them out to slaves that they were going to free from plantations. And then they would fight guerrilla warfare against slave owners in Virginia. Well, as it's known, it didn't go too well. The first victim of the raid was actually a free black man that doesn't look good for a start, and it just kind of fell apart from there. Eventually, all of Brown's raiders were either killed or rounded up. I think 5, however, they flee to Pennsylvania, but most of them were rounded up too. And Brown was hung for his crimes, but he became a martyr for the cause of abolition, the ending of slavery. The song John Brown's Body was created, which would become the basis of the Battle Hymn of the Republic, a war song for the Union during the American Civil War. So in some ways, this is one of the early shots, a prelude to the American Civil War. And then again in 1862, during the war, there was a Union garrison in Harper's Ferry operating when Robert E. Lee's Army North Virginia invaded Maryland, and this leads to the Battle of Antietam, the bloodiest single day of American history. He divided up his army. A portion of it was led by Thomas Stonewall Jackson. And Jackson, an artillerist by trade, looked down at the heights and looked down in the valley, I should say, and basically turned to his aide and said, I would never want to defend that place, and I'm going to show you why. Put artillery on the heights overlooking the confluence. There's heights to the west, to the north, and to the south. And it was the largest surrender of American troops until the Second World War. Yeah. Harper's Ferry was not as defensible as the United States government had hoped. And after the Civil War, the arsenal buildings have been destroyed. They were never rebuilt. But it is now today a national park. It's a beautiful town if you ever get to go. And actually, as if all goes well, yours truly and his co-host of the Heterochromia podcast will be making a special trip to Harper's Ferry here later this summer. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be able to see the John Brown Museum, the John Brown Wax Museum, because it has been listed for sale. The owners have been doing this for almost a half century now. They no longer can maintain the business, from what I can gather, or they've just grown tired of it. And that's understandable. I'm not saying this in a negative light, but the current owner's tenure of the museum has come to a close. Now, I know it was open last weekend. I don't know if it was open this weekend. I don't know if they're operating on a week-to-week base. It's currently for sale. If anybody wants to give me $589,000 for my Ko-fi link, I greatly appreciate it. I know what I'll be doing for the rest of my life. Which actually, that's not a bad price for considering the property where it's located, considering that it's in a historic town. The building itself, I think, dates back to the Civil War, if I'm not mistaken. So it's for sale right now. And there's some photographs here. And it shows you how displays. And what I remember going through, it's in this building. The building's tall. It's about 3 stories. But the hallways are very narrow, and you snake your way around, and there's the air conditioning unit, you can constantly hear it. It adds to the charm. It's dark, it's dingy, but it adds to the charm, the atmosphere. And then you go to each of these displays. Some of them have voice systems that you click on, and it'll give you a narration. The last couple dioramas, if I remember, are massive. They're the last one. It got to be at least 2 floors of the museum as you're descending your way out, showing the hanging of John Brown. John Brown's song plays. So this is definitely a nostalgia blast seeing this. I'm sad to know that it's likely going to be closing. I know I believe they're selling it with all the items as is. I'm crossing my fingers. I'm hoping a lover of history is able to buy this property and maintain the Wax Museum. I won't deny it probably needs some renovations, maybe upgrade some of the exhibits, and I'd be all for that. But please, I would love to keep this Wax Museum going. There's not a lot of these left. Well, wax figurines are kind of frowned upon by the history community today as a way to teach history. They're so nostalgic, and there's novelty to it. People are charmed by it. It's like people who don't necessarily get into history, they find these wax figures cool, interesting, little creepy. But so it's a great way for non-history people to really get into it. So for those that are history lovers like me, you get to relive the story of John Brown. And for non-history lovers, it's a fantastic roadside attraction. So I am hoping somebody is going to buy this and maintain it as the John Brown Wax Museum. And if not, then I have the best wishes for whoever the new property owner is. And thank you to the previous owners, the former owners, for maintaining this for so long. It's a soft spot of my childhood. Now, before we leave, we are going to play a little video. This is by the Carpetbagger. He visited about 6 years ago. If you've not checked out the Carpetbagger, which probably familiar with him. He's a traveling vlogger here on YouTube. He's friends with Adam the Woo, who's more of a famous vlogger. I've always liked Carpetbagger's videos. He's very low key. So I'm looking at the comments right now. The history of soy. Oh, wax. What if we had, go with me here. What if we had the history of Kikkoman soy sauce in wax? Down in Kikkoman, you'd probably actually buy that. You'd probably pay for it. Kikkoman, do you want to buy a wax museum? Okay. I'm going to play this video. We're not going to watch all of it. I'll drop in a link in. This is all Carpetbagger's video. It's not mine. But just to give you a little idea what the exhibits, what the experience is like or was like at the John Brown Wax Museum. Hold on one moment. I'll start the video soon, guys. Hold on. Hey, let's get to the screen. Oh no. Oh, wait. The audio's not going to play, is it? Nope. I have to share it. Okay, we're still live. Okay. I killed the stream right there. Well, we got stuff occurring downstairs. The cat's got near the staircase. So hold on one moment. We will be back, folks. I'm going to get the video queued up. I know. They're very unprofessional. Enjoy the music for a bit. I'll be right back. I don't know what's going on here. Normally I'm given like an option to like just share a tab. It's not giving me that. Okay, now I got I see what I did. All right. I think we got the video now. Sorry about that, guys. We're going to play.
So here is John Brown trying to establish an independent nation for slaves. All right, now there's no air conditioning in here, and some people might complain about that, but I actually think it kind of adds to the charm.
Here at the Kennedy Farmhouse, John Brown prepares for his raid on Harper's Ferry. His plan was to steal guns from the United States arsenal located there, with the refuge in the Virginia mountains.
Smuggle weapons with Biden is a perfect crime.
Ironically, arsenal located there. With these guns,
Look at that.
John Brown planned to arm escaped slaves and help them set up a refuge in the Virginia mountains. Behind you is the Harper's Ferry train station the evening of the raid. Ironically, the first person to
Oh my God, look at the carnage here. Look at John Brown's face. Oh, look at that.
Early morning at Harper's Ferry, John Brown and his men rounded up some townspeople and held them hostage in the small Harper's Ferry engine house.
The trial of John Brown. Guess he was dying while they tried him. That's humiliating.
He sat in a cot during the entirety of his trial. He had been gravely hurt during the break-in to the engine house.
Here's John Brown awaiting his execution. That must be the executioner right there.
Yeah, here's the final exhibit. Like I said, it's massive.
There's John Brown being led to the gallows. And look, they already got his casket ready. Please push button. Hey, check this out. This is the original firehouse that John Brown holed up in as he had a siege against the federal government.
All right, so sorry about that difficulty getting through that. I know you're all jumping off this Titanic of a stream. I referenced the Titanic tonight. Wow, I was not intentional. So moving on from the John Brown Wax Museum, which I am. No, we're not gonna move on quite yet because I want to drop a link. I gotta drop a link. I am so out of it. I am so ready for this week to be over. I am looking forward to next week, and we'll talk about next week before the stream's over. Some cool stuff's coming next week. But there's a link for the John Brown Wax Museum. But moving on in our choice of selections tonight, we are going to be taking a. What am I doing? What is going on here with my streams? All right. Here we are. The BCWA. That's what we're taking a journey over to Gettysburg now for an event that's coming up this week. The the Patriots of the. What is the PCWA? Okay, it's the Patriots of the Civil War Association. Okay, that's what the PCWA stands for. This is an entity which is made up of various different living history groups, and their mission is to put on a more authentic portrayal of the Battle of Gettysburg. Now, there have been several living history events that commemorate the Battle of Gettysburg. The anniversary is not this weekend, but it's next weekend. Of course, July 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, 1863 is when the battle was fought. 7,000 Americans were killed as a result. It's the most famous battle of the American Civil War. In more recent years, they've always had an annual living history event at the Daniel Lady Farm. That being said, and I'm going to be honest, the Daniel Lady Farm they have bleacher seats at the event. And that's fine for families who are treating this as a get out for the weekend. But for people who are looking for a more, I guess you want to say, a more humble depiction of the battle, a more authentic depiction, this is where the PCWA steps in. So this is just I think it's just going to be a 1-year event for the 160th anniversary. They have property about 2 miles west out of town where they're going to portray certain scenarios of the Battle of Gettysburg. So it's not a full-fledged battle reenactment, but they're going to portray certain scenarios. The biggest of which is Pickett's Charge. And what they're particularly focusing on during Pickett's Charge, they're representing the 72nd Pennsylvania as they defend the bloody angles, an angle in the stone wall where the Union line was on July 3rd when the famed attack by the Confederates was made. Okay, I'm still on the stream. I don't know what I'm doing, guys. I'm so paranoid. Oh God. This is like the flood stream all over again. I'm sorry. So a little bit, we'll dig down. We'll read a little bit about it. Patriots of the Civil War Association, preserving Civil War history through land preservation, education, advocacy, living history, and reenactments. Noticed the June 23rd, 25th event will occur, rain or shine. And unfortunately, there are high chances of thunderstorms this weekend, but hopefully it holds off during the day. We are a nonprofit organization that was formed out of a passion for the American Civil War and its rich history. Our goal is to raise money for the purpose of saving endangered battlefield lands around the country. We believe these hallowed grounds tell the American story in a way that can only be done by standing in the places where these struggles actually took place. Join us today and help to save our country's outdoor classrooms and to preserve our nation's history for generations to come. We're doing living history, preservation, and education. How can you help? The PCWA offers a way to explore stories that form the country we are today by protecting the Civil War related sites. We maintain the legacy of the wars that shaped our nation for a variety of historical tourism and educational projects. Battlefield serve as an outdoor school where both young and old can learn about the priceless liberties that we now take for granted. Volunteer with us, make a donation, attend an event, or volunteer at the National Park site. Learn more. Of course, we want to learn more. Well, it'll let me learn more. I guess that button's not working. Yep, there's the battle reenactment, 23rd through the 25th. It's starting tomorrow. There's some of your key figures that are involved with this entity. And here's actually a schedule of our events. Yep. So tomorrow they're going to be doing the first days. In particular, they're also going to be portraying the 16th Maine. The 16th Maine fought near the railroad cut on the first day of the Battle of Gettysburg. They became surrounded by the Confederates. And rather their flag be captured, which would have been a great dishonor, the regiment decided to tear up their American flag. And they actually gave out fragments of it to all the soldiers, stuffed it in their uniform. So their flag was technically never captured. And they're actually going to reenact that scenario when the first Maine completely surrounded the Confederates coming down upon them. They are going to tear up a flag. It is for historical purposes. They're not desecrating the American flag. It is to reenact what the 16th Maine did to preserve their flag. So they'll be doing that the first day. And they're going to be portraying the wheat field, which is considered the bloodiest 6 acres. It was this unfortunate part of the battlefield where it changed hands 6 different times and people really didn't know what direction they were going. So you had Confederates coming from multiple directions, Union from coming multiple directions. It was a bloody scene. And actually it's where one of my ancestors fought. I need to go out there and do a video on that spot one day. And they're going to be doing a reenactors only East Cemetery Hill. And if you check out the Retracing History episode on the streets of Gettysburg, we touch up a bit about what went down on East Cemetery Hill. It's a forgotten part of the battlefield. A lot of modern developments covered it up, but a lot of bloody action occurred there. And then, of course, they'll be doing Pickett's Charge on the final day. They'll be doing East Cavalry Field as well. We got a Retracing History video on that, so be sure to check that out. Take a look at Federals looking. So what I'm going to do here very quickly, I'm actually going to go over, I want to show you some images. I was hoping they would have some images. Patriots of the Civil War. I want to show you some of these images of the property that they've been setting up, what the lengths that they are going. I hope they posted it. I'm going to have to go to my personal, ain't I? Yeah, I'm going to have to go to my personal. Ah, darn. You guys are not making this easy. You got cool photos. You won't let... Oh, wait. This might be my ticket in. Okay, never mind. This is my ticket in. Never mind. As I say, there are darn cool photos. I want to show you them. What the work they've been doing is phenomenal. Here's some of the batteries that are going. There's already guys camping out there. Stephen Lank's not camping out there. Oh, man. Where are these photographs? I've been seeing them regularly. Okay, well, we'll go for here. So the volunteers have been working on this property to, I guess you want to say, terraform it to get it ready for the battle to look as close as it can. So they've been setting up stone walls. They're setting up post and rail fencing. They've set up this little bridge to traverse a creek. They've effectively rebuilt the Chambersburg/Emmitsburg Road. They're going to double it during the battle, if I'm not mistaken. Firewood's cut. All volunteer work. Keep that in mind. All of this is volunteer work to try to portray the Battle of Gettysburg as authentically as you can. I'm going to be pretty honest. I'm not much of a fan of battle reenactments in the sense of portraying an actual battle, because you're never going to replicate it, nor should you ever replicate it, mind you, nor should you ever replicate it. So it tends to look it can look very, very phony when it's done the wrong way. I can't get out now. I can't get out. I'm stuck, Ralphie. Man, this is just becoming one of these streams of all time. But I think these guys are doing a pretty darn good job. They deserve to be shouted out. I sadly cannot go. I have a few family events to attend this weekend. But if you're in the Gettysburg area, you got to go support this. This should be a beautiful event. I really just want to show you some of these photographs of what they're doing. It's so cool. It's an aerial view, but there you can see part of the angle that they've built. The 72nd will be standing there. The angle, by the way, is where the copse of trees is at Gettysburg today. So they've rebuilt that. I've gone right to the start. This is just not my day, guys. This is just not my day. It's nobody's week, to be honest. It's just a sad week. There's a little more up close of the wall. I know you've come to a stream to watch me geek out by a stone wall of snake fencing. You've come to the driest of streams, folks. Oh, this is pretty cool. This is actually a fragment of the 16th Maine's flag there. We were talking about it earlier. 72nd were a Zouave unit. So you'll see some guys with the red trimming on their jackets. There's going to be Colonel Jason Smith. Actually, I'm an acquaintance of him, and I'm very proud that he's getting to do this. He is so hyped up for this event, guys. I cannot begin to tell you. So I'm hoping it all works out for him. There's some more of the post and rail fence, if it'll come in. I can't put my arms down, Ralphie. Yeah, that's me right now. I can't get the stream to work. That's them putting it. Yep, like I said, all volunteer work, putting in the angle. There's a map of how some of the encampments will be. I should have just come to that. I should have just gone to media and just called it a day. But here I am. These guys go over the top, I'll be quite honest, with their uniforms, making sure measurements are as close as they can get to original documentation. These guys spend blood, sweat, tears, and a whole lot of money. More money than the average human being should on these. And there's actually the monument for the 72nd right at the actual angle. Some of the guys have been going out earlier and practicing. There's Mr. Smith over there commanding. This is I really hope this is a good event, because hopefully if it goes off well, maybe this is something they can do like every other year. I don't think you can gather enough people for this every year, but maybe doing like every other year, because like doing key scenarios. That's what's cool. If you can get enough people to do like a key scenario, a regiment v regiment, then you got something. But just a general battle reenactment. Oh, it's a battle of Gettysburg. Tends to not go too well. But regiment v regiment, you can, with the right materials. Oh, entrenchment tools. I love entrenchment tools. I'm a nerd. I am a sad nerd. What's going on in the Gilded? In the Gilded, I've had somebody reply, the Titan disaster is history. It's the first time human life has been lost in that manner. That's one of our comments. I did get a comment about the Titan disaster. Oh, it looks like it was raining that day they were doing the... Oh, look, Harper's Ferry. It ties all in. It ties all in. I think there's some images I've never seen before. That's why I'm kind of just like, ooh, cool. Oh, yeah, they also made brigade designation flags, too. Somebody's gone out of their way to make brigade designation flags for this. Like, a lot of time and energy. I know I keep repeating myself. A lot of time and energy is going into this event to make this a as educational of an experience as it can be. All right, guys, I'm going to be here forever if I keep talking about the PCWA. So we're going to wrap up with the PCWA. First, though, let me get their link, drop it in. Again, the event is this weekend. It starts tomorrow. It runs through Sunday. If you're in the Gettysburg area, definitely check it out. Moving on, though, we have one final topic. Yeah, I got to pull up the Locust Heights and Western Railroad. So these guys are quite off the beaten path, I'll be honest. In fact, they don't even got a proper website. The Facebook is really it. This is word of mouth. This is grassroots. This is family history, in the sense that it's literal family history, and that in the sense the family is preserving history. Let me tell you a little story about the Mason family down in Clarksburg, West Virginia. Back in the 1970s, a guy by the name of Keith Mason opened up a sawmill on his property, and quite a bit of swath of property outside of Clarksburg, West Virginia. And he needed a way to get his trees he's cutting down to his sawmill. And he decided to have a little fun with it. So instead of just having a simple tramway for vehicles, why not build his own personal private railroad? It's only about 3/4 of a mile long, but it does go up some steep slopes, 4% grade. And not just get a gasoline locomotive. No, not just that. What if we build this? That's right. Keith Mason and his family decided to operate their sawmill in style by building a replica of a Climax Class A locomotive. Now, a little bit about the Climax Class A. You're looking at the photo and you're saying, am I seeing it right? It looks like a tent on wheels. Well, let me show you some original photographs of the Class A's. Not too many of these were made. They were the first of free class of what became known as the Climax geared locomotive. The Climax geared locomotive was manufactured out of Corey, Pennsylvania, not near me, way up north. Might still stop to do a video someday. And they were one of the efforts. There were several companies, Climax, Shea, I think I want to say, was Mason actually named one of them? There were several of them. And these were solutions to get locomotives go up and down steep grades. So your standard steam locomotive, if I can do this right, they got these rods connected into their pistons, going left and right, parallel to the tracks. That don't work too well going up steep slopes. And all these logging operations are on steep slopes. So instead of this, which you're going to get no power going up the steep slope, they came up with these geared ideas where essentially the boiler's turning cylinders. Those cylinders are turning gears, and those gears have far greater traction and allow the locomotive to ascend much steeper slope. I'm doing a horrible way of explaining it. Even I've not fully grasped the concept of the geared locomotive, but I know it's gears that allow for better traction. The drawback is these guys move very slow. The advantage is you can go up steep slopes. These geared locomotives could go up to as much as like 12% grades. This was the first iteration of the Climax locomotive. It's like you say, it's very interesting. They put the boiler, because really when they were designing these, they're just throwing anything at the wall to see how can we get this to work. Okay, we found out we can get this to work. Just put the boiler vertical, it'll work. Then eventually they smoothed it out and made the boiler horizontal as you see it on most typical locomotives. It's a vertical boiler, 2 cylinders, powering these geared logs. These guys are not designed to go on the major rail lines. They're not designed to go on the Baltimore, Ohio, the Chesapeake, Ohio, the Pennsylvania Railroad. No. These are designed for just a few miles. They're not these are not speedies, but they're going to get your logs from your timberlands down to your sawmill. And often there would be a connection then for the sawmill to offload their cut timber to a more first or second class railroad. So problem is, I don't think there's any of these surviving, just photographs. There may be 1 or 2, none running. Actually, if you look at this photograph, you can see in the bottom underneath, you can see the gears, and I'm talking about coming off the cylinders. So Keith Mason in 1974 and his family he built one from scratch, boiler and all. This is all scratch made because he wanted to bring his logs in style. And of course, it attracted some attention. Neighbors are going, what the heck is that? And then he'd be like, well, do you want to ride on it? You don't say no if somebody tells you offers you to ride on steam locomotive. You always say yes. Understand, folks. Always say yes if somebody offers for you to ride on a steam locomotive. And then they started offering Wednesdays, in addition to the sawmill operation, that they were going to do these free train rides for people in the area. Initially, it was just family, but family friends came in, and then they would open it to the general public. So this went on no problem up until 2000. They decided to close the sawmill, but people still want to do the train rides, and the family decided, well, we'll give back to the community. Of course, we'll keep it open. And ever since then, the Mason family have been offering free train rides, no charge. They never ask for money. The Masons are very humble. They feel very guilty when they have to ask for funds to maintain this railroad. Free admission, train rides every Wednesday. I never got why they did it on Wednesdays, but it's always Wednesdays. And between June and October, they're doing these. And even recently, they started doing photo excursions. And for those who are not in the rail fan community, a photo excursion, essentially somebody either buys the railroad out for a weekend, or the railroad offers it with a certain ticket fee, and they will run the locomotive as many times as your heart desires, and you could take photographs of it. This photograph is from a photo excursion, I think back around 2017. The Mason family and their friends dressed as workers of the sawmill, depicting maybe sawmills in the West Virginia mountains at the turn of the 20th century. Another little story about the caboose in the background. Keith Mason actually built that first. It was not meant to be a functioning caboose. He built a playhouse for his children in the style of a caboose. But then he built the locomotive, and he's like, well, I need a caboose. So he took the playhouse and turned it into a real caboose. Gotta love that spirit. Sadly, Keith Mason passed away in 2016, but his grandson and Keith's daughter maintained the railroad. However, they're having some situations lately. Their boiler needs repair work, and here's a photograph of the boiler's gone. So they're in the middle of repairing the boiler, and boy, folks, repairing boilers on a steam locomotive takes a lot of manpower, and it costs a lot of money. If you've watched these broad top videos on here, you know all about the nightmares of restoration. So the Locust Heights and Western Railroad are down their main attraction. They do have a little gas locomotive. It's a cool little guy. Gets the job done, but the steam's what brings people. The steam is what makes this unique. So the Mason family is very in pain to ask this, but they have opened up a Venmo account. They are accepting donations. Now, I don't personally have a Venmo account yet. I probably will after the stream, but they are asking for any contributions to help them get the boiler repaired and get number one back up and running. So that link is dropping right now. Free train rides every Wednesday, steam locomotive on a mile of track on private property. This is a grassroots movement. This is a family tradition. It's been going on for a half century. If next year officially it'll be a half century they've been doing this. And it'd be really nice if they can get, I'll link that. It'll be nice if they can get number one, climax, say number one, back up and running, because it preserves history. There's no other functioning climax A's anywhere around. You probably never seen photographs of one before till this stream. It's very rare on common locomotives, so they are preserving a unique part of history. All right. Well, we're almost done with the stream. We're almost there, almost out of this chaotic, cosmic chaos we've had tonight. I want to shout out, I always like ending my streams, shouting out a piece of culture, not necessarily history related, just a piece of culture, because we got to build a better culture. At least here in the United States, I don't know if I can speak for the whole world. I don't think we have the greatest culture currently. Not dissing anybody, but look around. People are always not, it seems like everybody's always on edge. Box office are tanking for these movies. It is time for new blood to be injected, new fuel to be injected into our pop culture, into our dialogue. I can't shill it. Let's talk about Kindred Heavens. Let's just jump right into it. Talk about Kindred Heavens. So, this is a 104-page graphic novel about a girl who, against all odds, wants to live up to her father's incredible legacy. The first of four. Let's watch the little trailer here. Great trailer, by the way. It stopped sharing, didn't it? God. Let's try to repair this. Just let me play this trailer. StreamYards, what are you doing to me tonight? I need a vacation. All right. Let's try this again. I'm going to go mute so you can really enjoy the trailer.
Here we are again with the whole world against us. All because we lost one lousy race. Cerberus, as usual, is claiming we've fallen off. And of course, the papers are believing every word of it. But you and I both know they're wrong. Pegasus isn't finished, not even close. Our family doesn't have a single quitter in it. Dad will work until his bones turn to dust. And Felix and Robin, they're the best pilots I've ever seen. I mean, who could possibly hope to match our crew? And don't worry, I'm not leaving myself out. I'm gonna build something truly amazing. Something that will blow Cerberus out of the water. Something that will shock the world. Something that would make you proud, Mom. Something even Dad couldn't build. Time to get to work.
So that is the trailer for Kindred Heavens. And we actually talked about this last night on A Drink with Crazy's comic shop Wednesdays, which I totally did not steal the idea of the Preservation Shoutout from that man. Totally did not. Totally not aping his idea. So we were talking about it yesterday, and if you ever watch Ratatouille, if you know the movie of Ratatouille, this is going to make sense. You know the story Ratatouille, you know about the critic. He goes in there, and he's basically set to destroy the restaurant's reputation. And he sits down, and they make a very humble dish for him, the title, Ratatouille. And he has this vivid flashback to his mother making homemade Ratatouille. And, of course, he falls in love and praises the restaurant, and it's a happy ending. I had that feeling, that flashback, when I first heard that music playing, when I first saw the artwork. I am a major fan of Studio Ghibli. I got into their films, say almost about 10 years ago. It was around a time where I was starting to get into watching Eastern animation, watching Japanese watching anime. And I'd watch a few shows. I'm like, oh, I like this. I'm like, I don't know if I can watch all of this medium. I think it's an exception, not the norm. And I decided to watch a movie called Princess Mononoke. Now, I had only watched a handful of anime movies before. Akira was one of them. And to me, Akira was like the tip of the iceberg. That was it. Nothing could compete to it. And I was really trying to find, is there anybody that can rival that? The animation. Akira, I always loved the animation of it, because something rival that. I saw Princess Mononoke, saw the poster, like, well, that's cool. We got this warrior woman with blood over her face, this evil wolf looking thing in the background. Looks like it'll be fun. But I'm also kind of thinking, I've heard they make kid films. This is probably gonna be pretty laughable. I really don't like environmental films. They're always preachy. 2 hours later, that was the greatest film I ever saw. I devoured all of Ghibli's libraries soon after. They're one of my favorite studios. Hayao Miyazaki is one of my favorite directors. I wouldn't put him over John Carpenter in my personal ranking, but he's up there. And that's a high testament for me. And to this day, The Princess Mononoke is my favorite favorite animated film of all time. I want to do a video on it someday. What does this have to do with Kindred Heavens? I have never felt the sensation I felt watching Ghibli films, that excitement, that wonder, like I felt it watching this trailer. It's been a long time. I automatically knew I got to support this. So let's read a little more about it. Created by Bryce Beal and Scott Smolin. Again, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. Kindred Heavens is Studio Baba's debut graphic novel series. This campaign is the first of 4 books, each fully colored and at least 100 pages long. I want to just make sure I was still sharing my audio. And there we got the cover for it. It is the early 1920s, and the world has been gripped by a new sport called wind racing. Using Wright Brothers-esque machinery, people race around crowded streets, kicking up dirt and cramming their wings together as they all compete for the glory of being number one. Right now, there are two companies who everyone in the world knows: Pegasus, who created the sport, and Cerebras, who plan to take it over. And there's some of the artwork you can expect. And if you know Ghibli, Miyazaki loves aviation. The story. Kindred Heavens, Book 1, tells the story of Isabel Voigt, a 15-year-old mechanic working for the ailing Pegasus. While once the greatest racing company on the planet, a series of stunning losses dealt by Cerebras has tanked the public's opinion of them, and she believes it is up to her to win their favor back. But her father, Carl Voigt, believes that since he is the original inventor of the sport, his way is always best. He keeps her stuck as a mechanic, building the same menial things she always has, the same menial things that are causing everyone to lose faith in him. He won't even let her pilot. She has a plan, though. Somehow, some way, she's going to build something that blows not just the old man, but not just Cerebras, but the whole world away. Something that will change wind racing forever. Something that only she can fly. While this is our first Kickstarter, we've worked hard and taken a lot of advice from a few of our friends to ensure that everything post-campaign goes smoothly as possible. Kindred Heavens Book 1 is 100% complete. Always good to hear. By the time this campaign closes, we expect to be in the final phases of preparing for print. So effectively, folks, you backing this, you're buying the book. I know they say Kickstarter, that's not what that is. You're supporting something. It's not making a purchase. This is done. It's done. It just needs the funds to be printed. It's all written. It's all put together. It's going to happen. Looking to the future, Kindred Heavens Book 2, 3, and 4 are already fully plotted and mostly written, with plans to start work on Book 2 ASAP. We're also hoping to be able to release a roadmap for future books and their future campaigns shortly after this one concludes. All fulfillment is being handled by Iconic Comics, who are renowned for delivering rewards fast and efficiently and have handled numerous successful campaigns. Almost 2 years of work has gone into Kindred Spirits, spawned out of the desire to write a story that empowers people to chase their dreams, even when it seems like everything is trying to hold them back. In many ways, Isabel was a surrogate for ourselves when we were her age, just starting to make comics. Back then, no matter how hard we worked, it always seemed we were being told what we couldn't do. Oh, I know that feeling. By the world. Certain people. May or may not be in the cities. Our goal with this series is first and foremost to create an entertaining story. But if it helps just one person who is on the fence about pursuing their dream reach out and grab it, then the thousands of hours we poured into it will have been worth it. And there's the rewards. $5, you get the PDF. $15, you get the physical book and business card. I wonder if that one, I can't really see if the one business card is actually themed around the story. $25 tier, you get an enamel pin and bookmark. Always need bookmarks. $50 tier, you get a standee of Isabel Voigt. And the $90 tier, you get multiple copies with all the other rewards. Oh, it's already sold out. I can't get the poster. Darn. I should have bought it earlier. Darn. There's some alternate covers. Some more sample pages. Yeah, this is gonna be a great one, guys. This is gonna be a great one. I am looking forward to it. The book, it's about to be dropped. Hold on one moment. I'm gonna drop the link. One moment. That's not the button. That's the button. I'm dropping the link right now. There it is. If this sounds like it's up your alley, it's up my alley. Support Kindred Heavens. And that's the stream, folks. Now, before we finish up, I just want to let you guys know there's likely not going to be an Uncut History next week. That'll be a last-minute decision. There will be a live stream. Fingers crossed. There will be a live stream for next week. I will be in the trenches, Civil War trenches. I'll be going to a Living History event. Sadly, it's not at Gettysburg itself. We're going to do a small local event, but we're very proud of what we're going to do. We're going to have a lot of work going on, a lot of different displays set up. And to educate, it is the anniversary of the Battle of Gettysburg will be encamped upon. So to educate our local people what it's all about, What we're going to be doing is we're going to be working on breastworks, which are trenches effectively. Instead of digging into the ground, we'll be building them up. We can't dig into the ground because there's roots everywhere. Just not going to work, but we can surely build one up. So what I'm hoping to do, because I've seen a few other fellow YouTubers do this, done live streams like foxholes for Second World War reenactors. I want to do a live stream from a Civil War earthwork. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it live. I don't know what the internet cellular reception is going to be, where we're located. It's probably not going to be good. And if I'm unable to stream, I do apologize. What we will do a video, do a tour of our encampment, and that'll come up as soon as I get back home. So likely no Uncut History next Thursday. Hopefully we can stream on Saturday night from Civil War trenches. If we're not able to do that, we'll upload a video as soon as I get back. So look forward for that. That's coming down the pipeline. To let you guys know, we got a new video coming out this Saturday. It's been a long time coming. It's the first of 3 parts to a series about what's considered the most iconic home in the United States, Frank Lloyd Wright's Falling Water. If you recall, last year, we went to 2 of Frank Lloyd Wright's locations in Western Pennsylvania, Polymath Park, Kentuck Knob. Those videos are available in their own play stream. I need to end the stream soon. Playlist. I've been working on the Falling Water series for a long time, just unsure how to tackle this subject. So I think I found a solution. Part 1 will be coming out this month. Hopefully get the other 2 parts out next month, this summer. So look forward to that this Saturday. I know it's something very different. It's not military history. It's kind of art history. Not something I normally do, but I put a lot of work into it. So I hope you enjoyed the first episode. Hopefully you enjoyed Troops and Symbols of New France that came out yesterday. Thanks a lot to Dave Bybee, who was one of the living historians at that encampment, who helped make that video with me. If you've not seen it, you want to learn about the French perspective of the 7 Years' War, aka the French-Genuine War, aka the war that actually created the United States of America, be sure to check that video out. All right, I'm done. I'm going to play the music before any more cosmic terror. The children, the boys are shouting, the babies, I forgot the lyrics. I'm so freaking tired. I'm gonna drink the water and shut up. Yeah, that was one of the streams of all time. But we made it through. We got about an hour of content out of it. Can't complain too much. What do I do after this? Probably go sleep. Hey, thank you for tuning in, everybody. Thank you for tuning in, Wrangler. I hope you had a good time. If I don't get to see you guys next week, I'll definitely see you the week after. All right, we're gonna let the music play myself out. Have a good night, folks.